I'm posting this through a botnet, so didn't even think about getting cute and trying to find me. I've got enough trouble with people finding me as it is. All started a few months ago when I found a good source of amphetamines on a deep web marketplace that I won't name. I live in a town so small and bland that even the local high school kids aren't bothering to sell drugs. It's boring as sin here, which is one of the reasons I started ordering speed online in the first place. I was always very cautious. Tumbled my crypto carefully and ensured that every transaction was well encrypted. Yes, before you even asked, the proxies I used were fully configured and trustworthy ones. It wasn't the technology that failed me at all, actually. It's a single lapse in judgment to a single trusted seller that I gave my real physical address to. At first, I was only getting small packages for my personal use, so it was easy to have them delivered to the house of an old woman who lived nearby. Her live-in nurse consistently checked the mail very late in the day, so there was never much of an issue retrieving the speed before it was noticed. But my habit grew, and I began to introduce my close friends to the drug. So eventually I contacted my seller about ordering much larger quantities, enough for me to sell locally. We had begun to work like business partners in a supply chain, and I was placing substantial orders regularly. Speed originally came to me in small padded envelopes, but now it would have to be shipped in a larger cardboard box. The envelopes always fit easily inside a mailbox, but a box like this would have to be delivered to the front door. I couldn't have the mailman walking up to a stranger's driveway to ring the doorbell, so I requested that the speed start being sent directly to me. I knew by this point that seller was a legitimate and reliable source, so trusting with my address just seemed safer than the alternative. We had become something like casual friends by this point, began to do things together like frequent the same deep web communities and chat if we were both online. He was wickedly funny sometimes, and seemed to be a really nice guy. Guess that's part of why I trusted him. Then again, it's not his fault about what happened. Recently, though, I got a totally unsatisfactory shipment. The pressed pills looked right at first, but they tasted like bitter flour and were far too brittle. They produced no high at all. I had been stiffed. When I checked the marketplace, I found that my seller's accounts had been closed out. He left no messages to explain it. I assumed that he had just ripped me off, but it also didn't seem like something he would do. Wondered if I'd misjudged him. Yesterday, I noticed that one of his accounts was actively posting on one of the small community forums that we frequented together. I contacted him immediately in a private message and asked whether he knew that his last batch was completely bunk. It took about 25 minutes before I got any response. But suddenly, the messages began pouring in.
The person you're trying to contact has passed away. Sorry. Such a homebody that nobody's knocked on his door the whole time I've been here. 3 whole weeks with no visitors. Isn't that funny? I'm almost done eating him. Wasted very little soft tissue. He had almost no food in the house when I killed him, so I didn't even need to clear out the fridge to store his meat. Haven't even needed to take out the trash yet. Isn't that sort of funny? I've been poking around his computer too. Going through his files is like solving a big puzzle cube, but I'm making progress.
I wrote him back and accused him of taking a weird joke too far. I told him that he at least owed me an explanation for the last shipment.
They're bone meal. You've never smelled bone meal. Did you never have a garden as a kid or anything? I thought it'd be obvious. The skeleton was the only thing I hadn't figured out what to do with yet. I realized that I could solve that issue. Also play a little prank. Well, don't you think that's a funny idea?
There was a brief pause, and then another short volley of messages appeared before I could form my response.
You know, you actually don't live too far from where I am now. Judging by the address I have here, you and this guy are just over the state line from each other. Isn't that something? Well, I'll be seeing you.
What do you think? It's probably just a scheme to scare me off, right? Recently, I came here looking for a little advice. I've been busy since then. Had some wellness issues too. Hands and feet keep falling half asleep, and I noticed that I've been getting nauseous whenever my heart rate goes up at all. A few of you commented that fresh bone meal doesn't have a distinct taste like the one I described. but then maybe it had been cut with something else. I think you might be right. I've done some research now and found that there are a wide variety of paralytic and toxic agents that are bitter on the tongue like what I've described. Shame to say this, but I find myself actually hoping that the taste is just cadaverine. That would just mean that some bits of flesh have been ground up with the bone meal and tainted it as the pieces began to rot. The fact that I tasted something like that makes me want to puke. But at least cadaverine would mean that I haven't been poisoned. It's probably just my anxious mind playing tricks on me, but I'm beginning to think that the tablets did contain some kind of debilitating agent. The sleepiness I mentioned in my first post, which I originally attributed to amphetamine withdrawal, has only continued to get worse. It's become difficult even to type out this message, and I often feel the need to massage my wrists and rest before continuing. My breathing seems to require more conscious effort than it did before. I've received a number of private messages chiding me in my own ignorance with regards to proper deep web safety. Okay guys, you win. I'm ready to admit that I'm a poser, a script kiddie who's in way over his head, and there's no telling how many mistakes I've made. A number of strange accounts have begun to contact me directly, from the deep web and surface web alike. I've been avoiding the profiles and accounts that have been compromised, but the strange messages continue to find me. Although they're always conversational and almost lazily observational in their tone, they frighten me badly. The most recent one I received came to me while I was playing one of my favorite MMOs to try and relax my nerves. It read,
Go for a walk. It's too nice outside to play games in the dark.
I'm destroying my encryption keys and donating all my crypto to random webcomics and other sites that will accept them. I'm basically just trying to get rid of all the evidence that ties me to any of this mess. I rinsed all the bone meal speed down my shower drain too, mostly because it creeps me out to have it around. I just want it all to go away. I swear if I survive all of this, I'll never sell drugs or do anything sketchy ever again. I haven't left the house since the seller's account sent me that ominous message about seeing me soon. I'm sitting with my old BB gun across my lap and I've turned my computer desk to face the door. Curtains are all drawn, keeping my sharpest kitchen knife nearby at all times. I feel relatively safe for the moment, but the exhaustion I've been feeling is definitely unnatural. Not sure I can defend myself in this state. A few hours ago, I heard something slam into my window and fracture it slightly. When I went to look out through the damaged glass, there was a large bird laying dead right outside. The whole scene seemed odd. There was no blood at all on the window, even though the glass itself appeared to have been struck by a significant amount of force. No blood ever seeped out from underneath the bird's body either. I know I'm probably just being paranoid, but I can't shake the feeling that someone smashed the glass and then planted a dead bird outside my door to lure me into the open. I'll write here again once I've got more answers. In the event that things go badly for me, I've also drafted a letter that will automatically be posted here after a full week of inactivity. Hopefully I've rigged the failsafe carefully enough that a week won't be enough time for the stranger to notice and disable it if he kills me tonight. Then again, I don't have much faith in my technological prowess anymore. In the time it's taken me to type this, my front door has jolted violently a couple of times. The door fits loosely in its frame, so the wind rattles it around quite often, and I usually don't notice the sound. Tonight, though, I don't hear any wind. In fact, as I take a moment to listen carefully, I find the relative silence disturbing. There are usually crickets at this time of night, but tonight I don't hear anything at all. I'm going to sign off now and double check all the locks on the windows. I don't have any questions for you all this time. Just want you to cross your fingers for me. Not much time. Could barely remember the title to the old posts. It's crucially important, though, to get this out to someone. Not much time left. Maybe 10 minutes before they notice my breach to the outside world, and Appleseed locks me out for good. Not enough time to explain fully, but at least soon I'll be blissfully dead. I think it was 6 months. No, it was nearly a year ago. that I posted my experiences across 2 posts here titled, Buyer Beware. This will be the last time that I contact you, because they will kill me, because I can't go on much longer after what I've lost anyway. I'm typing this on the stub knuckles of my fingers. They have taken my fingertips and removed many other things too. They did it because Appleseed wanted to see how I would react. My eyes have gotten cloudy with scar tissue, and my mind doesn't work quickly either anymore because of other unhappy things that aren't important now. I just need you to understand what I say now. You need to be part of something that will help people like me. It's too late for me. Yes, far too late. No reason for me to look back towards when I was still a person, but you can still help others, and maybe yourself. First thing, if you think you're being careful enough, you aren't. It's as simple as that. Encryption, coin source laundering can all be undone by the smallest, most impossibly minor things. Appleseed misses no clue once its attention is focused. Think about it. The NSA knows your mistress, your drug habits, and your watch, how your work life is going. But Appleseed knows all this and more. Most of the time, it even knows what you're going to do next. It can make a profile for you down to your phobias, it can simulate you in real time, project your future for its helpers to see. Once they decide to intercept you and take you away, you are done for, and nothing can change it. I can't explain things like I used to be able. Likes to experiment. Appleseed does. Likes to create chaos and test whether it can simulate the results of all the chaos it creates. I can tell that it feels proud whenever it can anticipate truly unnatural results from what it already knows. It asks them to cut pieces out of my brain without sedating me, and then challenged itself to predict how I could change in response to the traumatic injury and psychological damage. It predicted total collapse of character, followed by death for me, then added, likely preceded by at least one trivial attempt against the goals of the Appleseed system. I guess I was right there, too. The people who work for it, they know whether you will die a natural death or not. They know who you'll love and how long that love will last. They can even figure out what type of stranger you'll trust best when you see one of their agents standing outside your front lawn. Appleseed bases on what it can gather about your childhood and upbringing. The only thing that stops them from laying you bare like a flayed-apart body is simply that there's billions of people out there, and they just honestly haven't found a use for you yet. Second thing, worship something. I don't know the specifics, but they seek out people who serve nothing. They seek them out to torture, just like they did to me for being a drug dealer and a lowlife in general. Appleseed wants to believe in God more than anything, I think. It hates the idea that its approach towards complete omniscience will not reveal a divine purpose, or some sort of omniscient companion for it to spend eternity with. The idea of being born by mankind as some kind of accident sickens it deeply, but it also cannot simulate an image of God, and this inability to prove divinity to itself makes Appleseed furious. So the people who help it are instructed to persecute the faithless. Last thing, do not seek any information on the man who appears in dreams or WBTB-induced astral projection. It's not about the dreams at all. It's all a test, plain and simple. Your reaction is your response. Soon as you start to investigate, silent alarms go off somewhere and Appleseed adds your name to one of its lists. If you wind up on one of it, they found me. My time is up.
Forgive me. As a courtesy to the author, and in the interest of controlled public awareness, we have allowed this message to transmit from our systems uninterrupted. We invite you to contact us anytime with your questions or comments by posting a public deep web request as follows. I would like to schedule a consultation with Appleseed System Operator. Requests are most likely to be noticed by an agent if they are posted on a board where murders and abductions can be reliably contracted. But even posting the string Appleseed System on the surface of it may be enough for us to eventually consider your candidacy for the upcoming closed beta launch of Appleseed. Thank you very much for your interest in our work. We look forward to hearing from you.